There is no doubt there is anger in India. There is no that people are extremely unhappy
Yeah,
and are looking for a very strong action on the part of the government.
yeah,
While it is also true that we are a large nation, we are a responsible nation, we are a democratic nation, and we are doing very well economically, and there is a lot of scope to improve our economy. That is why it is essential on your part, on our part, to think twice, to examine every option carefully before we take any action. This is a time where every matured leader and every matured democracy has to examine the issue very carefully and then take appropriate decision. You know, most of the people in the subcontinent have seen on television Ramayana and Mahabharata.
yeah.
And in those two epics, many times it has been said that we can't bring back people who have died, but let us create a situation in which people who are still living live properly. हम जो लोग चले गए हैं उनको तो वापस नहीं ला सकते हैं,
Yeah.
लेकिन जो जिंदा हैं उनको ठीक से रहें, सुखी से रहें, उनका जीवन अच्छा रहे, उसकी कोशिश तो हमको करनी चाहिए.
Hello, good evening and a very warm welcome. Today I have with me our guest O.P. Shah, who is the founder and chairman of Delhi-based Center for Peace and Progress. Very recently, his book, In Pursuit of Peace, Improving Indo-Pak Relations, was released in New Delhi by former Vice President Hamid Ansari Saab. Welcome, sir, to our next episode of Expert Insights. Pleasure to have you in our show.
Thank you very much.
So, first of all, what is your reaction to the most heinous and barbaric attack on Pahalgam tourists?
Terrible and unfortunate. The entire world has condemned it. The Security Council of United Nations has condemned it. The JNK Assembly unanimously passed a resolution condemning it.
Yeah.
All the leaders that I have been in touch with from Pakistan and their organizations, they've also condemned this act on the part of the terrorist. I have yet to meet a person, I have yet to see a statement which has approved this action in Pahalgam.
So, under the prevailing situation, would you like to continue or would you like to?
As you suggest. No, I'm perfectly all right as you suggest.
Okay, okay.
You asked me a question and I have answered that.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Under the prevailing atmosphere, war-like situation, which is some are saying that war is imminent. Atmosphere. What do you think should be the response of India, and what do you think as a peace activist should be the response of India?
There is no doubt there is anger in India. There is no that people are extremely unhappy.
Yeah.
And are looking for a very strong action on the part of the government.
Yeah.
While it is also true that we are a large nation, we are a responsible nation, we are a democratic nation, and we are doing very well economically, and there is a lot of scope to improve our economy. That is why it is essential on your part, on our part, to think twice, to examine every option carefully before we take any action. It would be desirable on the part of the government and important people who are responsible for taking decisions to examine every issue so that we don't suffer for taking a decision which we could avoid it. The decision which is not in the interest of people of the subcontinent, which is not in the interest of people of India. And that is why this is a time where every matured leader and every matured democracy has to examine the issue very carefully and then take appropriate decision. You know, most of the people in the subcontinent have seen on television Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Yeah.
And in that, those two epics, many times it has been said that we can't bring back people who have died, but let us create a situation in which people who are still living live properly. हम जो लोग चले गए हैं उनको तो वापस नहीं ला सकते हैं,
Yeah.
लेकिन जो जिंदा हैं उनको ठीक से रहें, सुखी से रहें, उनका जीवन अच्छा रहे, उसकी कोशिश तो हमको करनी चाहिए. This is what we need to remember, that whenever we think of any action, we must see and follow these words of wisdom which have been given to us 1,000 years back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many people are saying that all the diplomatic fronts which has been used or which has been practiced earlier, or the surgical strikes, they have not yielded much pressure on the Pakistan. So what do you think should be the option before India right now, when all the diplomatic efforts and the surgical strikes haven't worked yet?
If diplomatic initiatives and surgical strikes have not been successful in the past, if they don't put enough pressure on Pakistan as we want,
Yeah.
the only option in a civilized society is to continue with the dialogue. As we say, dialogue is the essence of democracy.
Yeah.
And between the two countries, which are large and which have nuclear weapons,
Yeah.
the leadership have a great responsibility to ensure that no one takes a step which is harmful for the entire generation.
Yeah.
So we must not give up the option of continuous dialogue with our neighbor and try and convince each other for the benefit that we get when we have better relation with each other. We both will stand to gain if both India and Pakistan uh, are not on the war path, but on the path of friendship and tranquility and peace and greater understanding. If we have all that, then imagine what would be the position of the subcontinent in the entire world. We will be at the top. Look at the contribution which our engineers, intellectuals are making in the Western world. And if we can use all of them here in the subcontinent, then the situation in the subcontinent will be different. We will be undoubtedly very prosperous region and peaceful as well. Once Pakistan and India understand each other's, recognize each other's compulsions and limitations, and then find out a way of better relations. So dialogue must continue.
So it is also said that there is a implications if the problem escalates further, there is likely to be a full-blown war. So keeping in mind that both the countries are nuclear power, how would you like to respond to that? And under such circumstances, how do you think both the countries should behave at this point of time?
I can't even imagine a situation where we'll be at war. That I can't think of the implications. I'm so scared to think of the implications and the consequences of war between India and Pakistan, and one of us wrongly exercised the option of nuclear weapons. So I, for one, will not even examine this. The very idea that there would be a war between India and Pakistan and nuclear weapons are an option frightens me. And I just can't imagine this. It can ever be considered by any uh, sensible, responsible, well meaning leader. So we must make all efforts to ensure that the option of war is not considered at all by the leadership of the two countries.
Yeah.
That's an option which that war is no options. It's not an option. It's an option for annihilation, death of the society, and death of the subcontinent.
Yeah. So, what would you like to say to peace activists both in India and Pakistan under this heightened pressure which has been built in the past weeks or so?
Uh, the well-meaning persons, both in India and Pakistan,
Yeah.
need to examine everything very carefully. And they have to forget for the time being of not spelling out things which may be unpopular in their country.
Yeah.
You know, but if they really mean business, if they really are activists in the true sense, if they really wish to bring about the peace in the area, then it is essential that we should uh, create a climate of trust and confidence in the subcontinent. We must create a situation in which every well meaning person makes a contribution and all the issues are solved through dialogues and discussions. We should recognize each other's compulsions and limitations. And once this is taken up both by leaders and the well meaning person, social and peace activists in the subcontinent, the situation is likely to improve. I don't find any reason why it can't. It is a difficult thing. We have lost many years. Our relations have not been as good as they should have been. But with so much in common between India and Pakistan, why can't we, for the sake of our future generations, uh, devise such strategies which will bring us closer and which will bring peace and tranquility in the region?
So, for our readers, I would like to know you have made many efforts to strengthen Indo-Pak relations. So, can you please tell us something about that in brief to our viewers, which might be interested to know about that?
Well, I began my work in the field of Indo-Pak relation way back in 1991,
Yeah,
when the first Indo-Pak people-to-people dialogue took place in Delhi
yeah,
at the India International Center.
yeah,
And we had a 4 day dialogue between eminent Indians and Pakistanis. But those were very important Indians and Pakistani, but they were not in the government at that point of time. So people who were outside the government, but very important in their fields. You know, important journalists, retired army people, retired diplomats, members of parliament, former ministers, governors, people of this kind participated in the dialogue.
yeah,
And then I took two delegations to Pakistan.
yeah,
The idea was to promote better relations.
yeah,
And the people who joined me in those delegations were
yeah,
people like Kuldeep Nair, Inder Gujral, Ramjet Malani, Girilal Jain, uh, Brijesh Mishra, people of this kind who wanted to bring about,
yeah,
who wanted subcontinent to be peaceful.
yeah,
And so this is how we begin. And since then, I have been regularly organizing discussions and dialogues between Indians and Pakistanis, sometimes on online discussion because you don't get visa easily between India and Pakistan, but the process continued. And in last 4 years, we have brought out two volumes of a book called In Pursuit of Peace, Improving Indo-Pak Relations. In both volumes, about 50 people each time contributed articles, both from India and Pakistan. And they all were very important people. They all are very important people in their respective fields. You know, former ministers, important journalists, social activists, academic people. So they all have desired that the relations between India and Pakistan should improve, and they feel that they can be improved. You know, I didn't find any article containing a sentence that relations between India and Pakistan should not improve. Everyone desired, both Indians and Pakistanis who contributed articles, and they're all important people in their fields, you know, former minister, retired army people, former diplomats, that there should be the improvement on relations between India and Pakistan. And they wanted that through dialogues and discussion, through meetings, people to people dialogue, effort should be made to create a climate of trust and confidence in the subcontinent. We should try and understand each other's compulsions and limitation and find out. No one should rush and create a problem for his neighbor because that's not going to be useful. That's not at all desirable. And this exercise was meaningful. And I find you might have seen a statement which has come out from the eminent people from India and Pakistan condemning the incident in Pahalgam and desiring that effort should be made and requesting both governments to do something so that nothing untoward happens and we are able to solve our problems. We are all sorry for people who have, innocent people who have died. And we all need to ensure that such things don't take place in the future. And that is why these dialogues between the two governments, between the people of the civil society of India and Pakistan, they must continue their efforts. उससे ही बात बनेगी, आपस में बात होगी और बराबर होती रहेगी. ये निश्चित है कि हमारे में डिफरेंसेस हैं, लेकिन डिफरेंसेस तो बात करने से सॉल्व होंगे. युद्ध, war can't be a solution to any problem. Ultimately, even if suppose the war takes place, then what? After that also we have to sit on the table and then work out. तो इसीलिए why do we go that far? Resort to a war which will harm everyone. ना उसमें इंडिया का भला होगा ना पाकिस्तान का भला होगा. People of India will suffer, people of Pakistan will suffer. तो इसीलिए if we, the important leaders, the responsible leaders, the important people of the civil society who mean business, who are well-meaning people, you know, of the two countries, उनकी ड्यूटी बनती है कि साहब कोई ऐसी बात ना हो. And that is why everyone need to exercise restraint. Unfortunately, you find on the television, both Indian television as well as the Pakistani television, the level of dialogue on Indo-Pak relation is extremely low, and it's frightening to see some of those dialogues. They don't lead us to a situation where we can live properly, nicely, in peace and tranquility. तो इसीलिए बात तो जब भी बनेगी जब हम सब मिलके ये सोच लें कि इस सब कॉन्टिनेंट को बचाने के लिए हमको आपने एक और सवाल पूछा था कि साहब Muslims or minorities.
My next question is that as we have seen that after every attack, we can see that Muslims are subjected to hate and religious profiling. So how dangerous it is for our plural ethos and our inclusiveness?
Well, it's very sad that, and it's very terrible and unfortunate. What we need to do to make sure that we live as peaceful citizens.
Yeah.
Let's talk about India in this context. That it is everyone in India must recognize one fact that we are a large country. Yeah. We have people who speak different languages, who profess different faiths. Yeah. They follow different religions. And this country can survive and prosper, and people of India can live peacefully, and we can have a progressive and powerful India only when we follow secularism in true sense. We follow the secularism in letter and spirit. And this should be the responsibility of every citizen. Minority, majority, irrespective of the caste you belong, irrespective of the language you speak and the religion you follow, we all must stick to that we will follow secularism in the true spirit, in letter and spirit. And we will uphold the idea of India, which our leaders thought for us.
Yeah.
And based on that, the Constitution of India was prepared and accepted by people of India.
So, anything would you like to say to the present establishment as a peace activist, because you have worked very hard to strengthen Indo-Pak relations, and when we see that there is an imminent threat to war, so how do you feel and what would you like to say to the present government?
I would request with folded hands to each one who matters in the subcontinent, both in India and Pakistan, please consider the situation very, very carefully and see that apply the most constructive and positive suggestions which come from the civil society, and think of the welfare of the common citizen. Think of what Gandhiji used to say, whenever he has to accept an option, he will think of the poorest person that he has seen in his life and find out which option, which path will help that poor man. गांधी जी का तलिस्मान था, ये कहते थे कि भाई जब भी आपके मन में दुविधा हो किस रास्ते पे जाना है, किस बात को एक्सेप्ट करना है, तो आपके मन में उस व्यक्ति के बारे में सोचिए जो आपके जीवन में आपने जो निर्धन व्यक्ति देखा, सबसे ज्यादा निर्धन जो था, उसके बारे में सोचिए और सोचिए कि उस व्यक्ति को किस बात से फायदा होगा, उसके जीवन के बारे में सोचिए. थिंक अबाउट द पर्सन who is most unfortunate, who is very poor, and then decide the course of action. Once you do that, if we follow Gandhiji in this matter seriously, then there would be no problem. जो हम एक साधारण से गरीब आदमी के असहाय व्यक्ति के बारे में सोचेंगे तो विल come to a path, and that path would be such where there is likely to be an agreement between the Indian and Pakistani leaders. I know there is a big difference today. I know there is a crisis of confidence. I know that there is anger in the country. I also know that we have extremely bad relations with Pakistan at the moment. But let us ensure that becomes a thing of the past, and our future must be such that we are able to build a prosperous and peaceful region, and both Indians and Pakistani live well.
On that note, let us remember what our former president of India, APJ Abdul Kalam Sahab had said, that missiles is not only a destructive weapon, it can also be used to send flower in space as a symbol of peace. Thanks for sharing your perspective. We'll be back next week with another expert. Take good care of yourself. Keep your environment clean. Goodbye.
Thank you very much indeed.